All right. So for this part of the session, we're going to talk about the way forward for the Youth Action Assembly, as well as the documents that were talked about in breadth and detail yesterday. And for that, I'm going to welcome to the floor my colleague Jenna to do that. So Jenna, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Jim, and thank you so much for your good moderation through the unexpected technical difficulties. Thank you so much to our lovely interpreters that are really facilitating this whole process and helping us make this inclusive. I know it's a bit stressful when something doesn't go as planned. So thank you so much for all your hard work. My name is Jenna Tesdall. I'm the director of the Youth Network Young Professionals for Agricultural Development. I think you've seen my face a couple times over the past day if you have been tuning in. So I thank you so much for those of you who are returning based on the sessions that were held in the past couple days. If you weren't in the sessions over the past couple days, I'll just give a brief overview of what was discussed. So we discussed 3 documents that are part of the Youth Action Assembly. So there's a compendium as the first one, which is really an analytical summary of youth statements which have happened over the past 1.5 or 2 years about food and agricultural systems. And that scientific analysis of these different written youth statements now has resulted in the compendium, which should be a document which we can refer to when we say, what are youth priorities, right? So it's not a political position statement, right? Because it hasn't been negotiated, but it could be a basis in the future for some type of statement, right? That the Youth Action Assembly could make together. And so this is kind of the beauty of this document, and it can develop into future versions. And so that's what we want to talk about in this session is how do we move forward with these documents? So first there was a compendium that was discussed. Secondly, we had the governance document, and the governance document is a 0 draft as well. All of these documents are 0 drafts, so you should contribute to them, give feedback either through the sessions that happened in the past days, but also through the written form, which has been passed around, and we can also perhaps pass it to you all in the chat again. It was also in a World Food Forum newsletter, and I know it will be posted on the World Food Forum website so that you can give your written feedback on these documents. So with that aside, the governance document, the second document, is to really say how this body should work together, what rules govern our teamwork together so that we can work together to be as inclusive as we really are setting out to be, and to really have many eyes on this document so that the intent of including as many youth as want to be involved is really made a reality through that governance document so that we can work together to work on policy issues, et cetera, whatever we decided that we're going to put our hands on as a group. Then third is the action track. And the action track is really that beautiful vision of the future for World Food Forum. What do we want World Food Forum to grow into, to evolve into? What do we want to accomplish together with this body? What is its added value? And so this is for all you dreamers out there, all you folks who like to think big, who like to have your vision in these type of groups. This is the spot for you to contribute and to continue working, dreaming, and putting those projects that you have on the ground really into a bigger vision as well. So this is the action track. And now the way forward, really what we will propose is to form working groups to work on each of these 3 documents, to bring them to life, to bring them out of the 0 draft into hopefully a first draft, maybe a second draft, and then finally a final draft. And that also these working groups can consult with their constituencies as well. So I know some of us are here today representing maybe an organization or a group of people who are interested in the World Food Forum. And we need to go back and consult with our constituencies as well about what they think about these documents and really have some of those more intimate discussions in our groups that maybe it's more difficult to have over a webinar or over an internet connection, for example, or just with people that we don't know as well, right? So take these documents back to your constituencies when you are working in these working groups and after these sessions. That is the invitation that we have for all of you. So we've also said many times throughout the last 2 days that you are welcome to sign up for these working groups. We want you, all of you here today, if you're interested, if you want to be involved, if you want to give your input, please sign up for a working group. And we will put the link to the working group form, sign up form in the chat. Yes, fantastic. And you can also use the QR code on your screen, but you can also get in touch with us via email at youthaction@worldfoodforum.org. And so those are all ways in case perhaps Google Forms doesn't work in your locality. Like, for example, I know that Google services are not functioning in China, for example. Send us an email. We're also super open to that. If we could advance to the next slide, that would be fantastic. And so this is just a brief summary of what could be topics for the working groups. So we really do expect probably that you all are interested in being involved in working groups about one of these 3 documents: the compendium, the youth mechanism, the action track, but perhaps others. Certainly during the discussion yesterday, I heard that folks are interested in certain topic areas. And so that could also be an interesting way to form a working group together with people who are interested in a thematic focus. So all this is open to you. It's up to you to create, and it can be as much and as big as you can dream it to be. And so with that, we'd like to invite also you all into discussion about what you would like to see these working groups accomplish, to just do a small brainstorming session with all of you. And so if you would like to make an intervention like we have before, please raise your hand. We can promote you to panelist. And for our interpretation team, please have headphones in. And if you can, and if you're comfortable, please turn your camera on, because that also helps our interpretation team, but it also helps your colleagues who are listening in to get a more full picture of this communication that we're trying to engage in here. So we really encourage you to now come in, express your interest in these working groups, and maybe your hopes for what you would like to see these working groups really accomplish. I see a hand raised from Amira. We can promote her.
Yep. Okay, Amira is gonna be promoted to panelist, make an intervention.
Yes, definitely. So thank you for your patience while we promote you to panelist. And those of you who are also interested, or if you have questions about how you envision these working groups working, definitely chime in. This is like the space for you to say, how do we want to move forward with the World Food Forum, and kind of create that together.
There she is. Hi, Amira.
Hi, Jem. How are you? Good morning.
Good.
Yes, everything is good. Actually, I'd love to talk about the action plan. I dream of a world of zero hunger. This is my first, which I think that I try to work for it for a long time. Even with myself or researchers or national organizations, because there's nothing worse in the world than people who can't access to food every day. And I love also to see a healthy young. We are as young need to understand the importance of nutrition and healthy food, need to valuable it, and need to change our lives by change our diets. So that's what I dream to see it. I dream to see everyone aware of this. I dream to connect all as a language, to be all on the same vibes all over the world. So that's as a start, and then see what's coming else. That's it for now. Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you.
Amira.
Thank you so
If I
much.
could come in, if I could come in and do a follow-up on that intervention you just made, Amira, like I know that that's what you're hoping to do and achieve. And together in the context of the Youth Action Assembly, the World Food Forum, how do you see, or what is the best way forward for you in terms of like operationalizing that, engaging that? What kind of working groups would be in, very crucial to to put together so that that dream is realized? Yeah. So I think maybe more on how do you see it as a way forward, working closely with people from around the world in the context of the World Food Forum. So yeah, we'd love to
Okay.
get your ideas on that.
Okay, I believe that every land in this world have a blessing. So I believe that every nation have something we could share together. This something already I'm going to farming through this, or food through this, because that is the language that we all as human knows exactly, that we are talking every day. So if we could share this through science, through our daily habits, through our beliefs, through our culture, and what we dream to inherit our next generations, if we could share all of this and put it in a draft, put it in an action plan, create a harmony in all of this, and complete each other with everything that we have. I think we could make a circle where we could complete each other. So I'm seeing after that a bright future for all of us. I think it would be right if we be able to do this through conversation, of course, and sharing our knowledge. Everyone's work, when we share it and create the harmony and the action plan through it and put it in a draft, I think we could be able to do something great. And of course, supporting each other on the land. Everyone going to the land to work, if we support each other with the potential of each other through the great thing you are doing right now, the World Food Forum, because you create a platform where we could support each other through it. I think there is something big, and I see it going rapidly also gonna to be happen, inshallah. If I make it the point that Jim asking for.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Thanks. I think it's
Yeah.
very, I think I like that. Yeah, go ahead, Jenna.
Or I was just going to summarize, I think, what you said, right? So I took it, this is when you see me looking down, I'm taking some notes actually.
So happy.
So it sounds like, yeah, your dream for the action track is really about sharing knowledge and sharing experience, right? In many different areas, all those centered around food and agriculture, and not forgetting that important part of culture and our dreams for humanity and for the next generation, our generation, and supporting each other's potential. So I also heard some of your points, some of those topical focus areas are nutrition and healthy food, and also food access and food education.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, so those are all
Right.
amazing things that I think can go definitely into the action track document,
Yeah.
as you were suggesting, but also as you were suggesting, have other ways of communication, of dialogue as well.
That's it. Yes. Yes. And also,
Nicely
I
captured.
hope that after a pandemic of Corona, I praying for, we could be really communicated on the land, on the field, you know, that would give us a push. Inshallah.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to be in contact with different types of agricultural farming systems, different types of
Yes,
production, for sure, and to be in
exactly.
contact with each other in
Yes.
another way.
Yeah,
Yes, inshallah.
absolutely.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you, Amira. Love your inputs.
you're welcome,
Love the energy on
Jem.
that. Thank you
Yes.
very
Thank
much.
you.
Nicely
Thank you.
captured by
Thank
Jenna
you.
as well.
Thank you, Jem. Yes, great capture by Jenna. Thank you all.
All
Gladly.
right. So we have
Okay.
other people who want to come in also. Okay, I see Giovanna.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Giovanna, you have the floor.
Hello. Hi, everyone. So I don't know if you hear me or see me. You should be.
Yes, there's a bit of an echo. So if it's possible to reduce the echo, I think it's helpful for the interpreters, but otherwise go ahead.
I will do my best. So I wanted to join the discussion on what we want to see on the way forward. And I think that the compendium is so great. And I think Amira should definitely join the team with all her benevolence and like the nice way of presenting and all the blessings she gives to this group. So thank you very much, Amira. And I was wondering like how we could do, oh, hi. What we could do in order to continue this discussion and promote it the way forward by also getting more discussion done and more platforms, wanting more, having more accountability also of this institution, for it to be an institution and for not to be just a discussion we're having today. And I was wondering, I know that we have mentioned the compendium and the different action plans, but I was wondering, how do we make ourselves heard, and how do you think we will be able to keep this platform an institution or something that can go on and have these discussions regularly, or at least if not regularly, how we will be able to have another date? Is there World Food? I actually think I know the answer, but there will probably be a World Food Forum too. But how does it go up to the way there? Do we have another date, another meeting point? I am both in your team and also a little bit outside of the discussions, so I'm pretty sure the audience would like to know as well. So maybe we can open the discussion on this point.
Thank you, Giovanna. Jenna, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's an excellent point to clarify. And it's definitely part of what's laid out in this governance document. So everyone who is interested in saying, how does the World Food Forum continue? How do we work between now and World Food Forum 2022, for example, God willing that it happens? Those are really questions for the working group first of the governance document, and can definitely imagine that then when a inaugural focal points group can be selected, that's their first item of work, right? Is to say, how do we form the World Food Forum 22 together? How often do we meet? In what form? Is it digital? Maybe it could be in presence. All those type of questions are things that the working groups should form together, and that working groups really co-lead, choose their co-leads from within themselves so they can form that way forward together. Definitely.
Great. Great.
Jim,
Yeah.
would you have
Yeah.
something to add or to
Actually,
clarify what I said?
yeah. In fact, there are ways to approach that question also. So it's more of in terms of how do we work hand in hand with everybody from different parts of the world. It's more of what tools are we going to be using. And so for example, just for us to get started with the youth action compendium, we used a mix of different tools, simple as a Miro board that Lizanne put together. She put a lot of effort in that Miro board. Of it's like a digital canvas of like meta cards for ideas to be put and organized together. There was a platform called Taget that is a kind of academic route that would be kind of a way for us to identify keywords and documents to utilize it for the youth action compendium. So these are the tools that we've used initially, and so those are also some things that if you have any suggestion from the floor, that we'd love to know if there are tools that could help us streamline the kind of work that we want to do with the working groups and all of that. And there was also some discussions or some suggestions coming from the floor yesterday, Jenna, if I remember, where we had a Menti out and people were putting out suggestions of using Discord. Do we use Slack? Do we use, how do we create that community? And from what I know, there was also a partner organization that offered a platform where they can host like a World Food Forum community. So I think, those are the platforms in which we'd like to explore and know about, that we could use, so that this is not going to be a one-off thing. Like, after today, we're just going to wait for another event for us to come together again and discuss. But really, how do we build that community around the goals and the aspirations that we put together in the past few, months that went into these documents? So again, going back to the floor, if you have any suggestions, and this is just the, the discussion on tools. The other part to look at it is also the ways forward in terms of how do we engage with other stakeholders, right? Like the outcomes of these documents, the content of these documents, how do we communicate it with stakeholders? What is the best way to kind of go into stakeholders, policy areas, or with governments, with civil society, with intergovernmental, with private sector partners, with farmers, and all of these? So what are ways forward in terms of engaging as well? So yeah, I see Giovanna's hand up again. Hi, Giovanna, again. We'd love to know more about your inputs. Go ahead. Please make sure your microphone is clear for our interpreters.
Okay, I will try my best. The room is as it is. So hi again. So I was wondering also, and I think one of the suggestions I would like to see is to expand, and you were just getting there, Jim, I saw that, to expand to the new stakeholders, to the other ones. I mean, there's many companies having their youth involved. There are many political leaders that involve also their youth in different places, in different things. We did speak to farmers, we did have other stakeholders, but I think it will be really interesting when we manage to get this one to go bigger and greater by reaching out to the youth organizations, as we did, like the NGOs, the grassroots leaders, and the people who are also researchers. That it would be really great if we see, for instance, I don't know, the young people who are already very invested in their small companies or in their businesses, because those are also communities that have the power to leverage change. We are not the only one as policymakers, but we spoke about regionalizing and localizing our actions. And I believe that those communities, I'm not saying that companies are the only way. But like if we take into account the other stakeholders, make the World Forum known, the suggestions we make known to them, we'll be able to localize this discussion and this debate and turn it into local policies, very spontaneous actions, maybe in the canteen restaurants, and have that useful leadership impulse that we want to see in the world and in the job markets and in the future agri-food systems, I believe.
Absolutely. All those stakeholders are very crucial to engage with. And I see a question in the chat box as well. So from Separatas, there's a comment made that thanks so much. And I think in first moment maybe is more easy thought of everyone to do the promotion of the program. But at this point, I ask you how I can do the linking with the people of my town with your organization. And so this is basically one of those scenarios in which we'd love to explore how we can bring it from this global level down to like regional, national, and even local areas. And so I think that's where for us, we'd love to know what are your suggestions also in terms of how to move forward. Like, do you want to create a national fora, for example? This is an example. I'm just putting it on the table so that there is kind of like a mirror entity that is in your own country or in your own locality. And that is something that would be, that would be kind of a way for us to engage with you at the ground level. So yeah, definitely. Jenna just asked, would you want to elaborate on that? We'd love to have you speak. Please do raise your hand if you want to speak. We can promote you as panelists, and we can have you present your intervention or your question in person. At least we can see your face as well. Would you be happy to do that?
Yeah, if so, raise your hand or respond to us in the chat. And if not, that's also fine. I love Jim's point about thinking about if there's some type of national level or member state level where that can happen. Oh, and I see that we should also remind you, you are welcome to speak in your own language as well, because we have the interpretation in the 6 UN languages. So feel free, and that invitation goes to everyone as well. So, and to briefly respond to your intervention, Giovanna, I think that's excellent what you're suggesting there, to also do explicit invitations, because yes, we're trying to spread the word as much as possible, but sometimes a direct invitation reaches people better than a general promotion strategy. And I think I definitely agree personally that that's key, and that that's something that definitely the working group should take up as one of their first priorities.
Yep. Thanks, Jenna. Absolutely. And I see Amin's hand raised here. So Amin, hi, nice to see you again.
Hi.
And
Good
we'd love to
morning.
hear your intervention.
Thank you. Actually, I just thought like maybe I want to step in after seeing the comment from Separatas about how we can link let's say, this kind of communications with the people of their own respective locality, local town or village or organizations, to the ones at an upper scale. I think that regardless of any network that we are deciding to create for the World Forum or from the young activists, it needs to be structured. It needs to be structured, but doesn't mean that it has to be a top-down structure. It can be a circular structure, but what we necessarily need for sure is focal points. So if Separatas feels that it's necessary for him to deliver messages to his own, let's say, village or town, bringing from the organization, or vice versa, to deliver the messages from his own community to us. So he or she himself should be responsible for finding the focal point or volunteering as a focal point that they can, let's say they can in some ways translate, but not by just translating, I mean by language, by translating the message in all kinds of way that they understand to their own community. So this communication, I mean, it's not going to be easy if we look at it at a global scale. We cannot have everyone in one platform and speaking and expecting that everyone understands in the same way and same perspective, because we are coming from different realities, different backgrounds. So I think that the role of focal points are very necessary here. And in my opinion, I would definitely invite every young activist that is present here, that is inspired to join, to, of course, volunteer at least at the lowest level, at the lowest scale in their own community, to be a focal point. And let's see how we can connect these. I mean, then when we have focal points, it's much easier to connect the focal points together. And I mean, that can start like a focal point from the community level, then it goes higher to the city level, then it goes to national level, then it comes to continental, and then international ones. So I think this would be a structure that it can work, but yes, it doesn't need to be a top-down approach. It can be circular. So yeah, this is basically what I thought I could add. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, maybe I
Thank
can.
you.
Oh yeah, sorry,
Go
Jim.
ahead,
I was going to
Jenna.
say maybe I can respond to that briefly, just given my knowledge of the zero draft of the governance document, because a focal points group, not quite how you are describing, is described in this zero draft, right? So it's the guidelines that we put in there are for regional representation, gender representation, identity group representation, what have you. And that's functioning a bit as a steering committee, right? But we named it focal points group because we wanted to represent this circular approach that you were describing, right? So that focal point works together with their constituency to create that circular feedback. So that's what's envisioned in the zero draft, but that's definitely a call for folks here to take a look at that and see if there's more language, more suggestions in there that really makes that a reality, because that's, I think, kind of the hope in the zero draft. But there can be a wide gap between hopes and intentions and reality. And so that's why we need the feedback, right? And to work together on it.
Absolutely. Yeah. When Amin was just talking about that, I remembered right away into the focal points group of the governance document. And I think it's very crucial that it also, the governance document also looks into, the different I think specific groups, was it Jenna, with the young scientists, with these policymakers, or something to that effect. And so there's that way, and this is something that is not cast in stone. And I want to re-emphasize that it's not final and cannot be moved and cannot be modified, but it's open for everybody's feedback. And so this is why we're having this conversation now, is that the input and feedback coming in from here would basically bring the zero draft to the next level, or to the next iteration that is more inclusive of everybody's ideas. So definitely love to see more ideas coming in. And yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Sorry, I just remembered what I wanted to say to answer the question, what do I want to see? So based on, I mean, I didn't, to be honest, I didn't have the chance, or maybe I couldn't find the zero draft to have a look about like the structures for the focal points. And I would be thankful if someone could, let's say, if they could fill it in the chat so I can find the link. But yeah, I was going to ask about if we are going to have focal points, let's say we have a focal point for gender equality in my community, I have a focal point that is going to be, I don't know, responsible for reflecting the problems about value chain. There's going to be one going to be about environmental issues, all of these different ones. How can we ensure that these focal points are not going to fall into the same trap that we are basically having problem now as working in different silos? How are we going to ensure this interaction among the focal points in a very, let's say, a lively way, that they're all the time aware of what's going on, and we can, yeah, we don't just create division again. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's really important to go into that systems approach, you know. I think it's high time we address that.
Yeah, that was, whether it's achieved or not through the zero draft, that was also part of the hope behind naming it focal points group, instead of having it steering committee members nominated from particular youth organizations or particular constituencies. So the way that it's written now is that you're maybe not defining solid categories for each focal point. So for example, there's not a gender focal point for Southeast Asia, for example, that's written in the focal points group. It would be really based on the composition of the group. So when one person comes in, they then represent a multitude of identities, stakeholders, etc. Whether that's the best approach is totally open for discussion, right? But that's kind of the suggestion that's made with the focal points group, and should be discussed further in the working group and with our constituencies, how that should look like.
Yeah, very, very interesting points. And I mean, I just put the links to the documents in the chat box, so feel free to go and dive into those. And we'd love to get your feedback once you've gone through them. So again, opening it to the floor, anybody who has, you know, ideas, any idea basically on how to bring this session, this Youth Action Assembly forward, so that we're not going to be bound to an event. This is not just an event. This is basically, from its name, youth in action in food systems. Yeah. And so we're going to be working together. How do we drive the process? How do we go and navigate through the dynamics of working with different actors and stakeholders across the food system? So again, the floor is open. Feel free to jump in. Raise hand button is there for you guys. The chat box is open, and the Q&A button is also there for everybody to come in. So we'd love to see your inputs and your feedback. Go ahead. For those who haven't seen the documents yet, or were not able to listen in on yesterday's discussions, the links to the documents are in the chat box, and you can go through them one by one. You could go to the zero draft that summarizes it. You could go to the different documents for more in-depth details of each part. So yeah, I think, Jenna, one of the things that while waiting for people to come in, right, and also with the discussions that Amin brought in to the table, I think it's also crucial to see how the working groups are kind of like a mix of different sectors, right? So it's not just, if we're working on gender, it's not just particularly gender, but it's a blend of like different issues coming together, yeah, with that are related, like gender and land tenure perhaps, or gender with climate, and all these issues being addressed in a more holistic manner, instead of just addressing an issue for its own particular side of it, and bringing solutions that address more cross-cutting, making it more cross-cutting. Is that something that we could go into? What do you guys think?
Yeah, from my perspective, definitely. And I think this is also something that it was kind of envisioned with the focal points group as well, that there can be different technical expertises that are also brought into the focal points group, depending on who is chosen by the assembly and what technical areas also are chose to be focused on or are priorities for the group. So I would definitely agree with that. And I see Amira has raised her hand. So I'd love to invite her.
Yeah.
To
Hi,
the floor.
Amira. Go ahead.
Hi. I just wanted to answer Amin with a simple question. I know that the World Food Forum have answered before, but I wanted to ask it from our inner heart, why we are doing this? Why each one of us doing this? Why we are here right now? Why we want to continue this and put commitment, high commitment, hours, potentials, lives, effort, energy. Why we wanted to do this? If we could unify our why, I think, or our answer on the why question, I think that we could drive the World Food Forum into the future. And I think that we could afford all the effort that we should do in the future. That's it. Hello.
Yeah. Thanks, Amira. Got that.
Thank you, Jim. So anyone could answer this or talk to me about this?
Yeah. And I think Amin would like
you
to
are
respond to
here?
that.
Okay. Why, Amin?
Thanks, Amira. I think that is definitely a fundamental question that it depends. I mean, actually, we all have to have a clear answer about that before considering ourselves as an activist or someone that wants to contribute to fixing a global issue. Because if you don't know this answer to your own heart, that what is your individual commitment, then how are you going to be able to spread this as in form of a word or a message or an action in your surrounding environment? You really need to be sure that you, first of all, are committed, regardless of any other external judgment, just your own internal belief and action, that you are committed to what you are, what are your values, what are your beliefs, and then start, I think, sharing this idea, sharing this vision with others in your community or the organization that you want to contribute to. And there was something that is relevant to this. I just had a very quick skim through the documents that Jim shared. Thank you so much for them. And one thing that I was trying to find was to have a clear line in the, I don't know which document was it? Was it the action plan document or the compendium? So basically what I was looking for was to see a clear line that connects the youth with the older generation. Unfortunately, currently this connection is very binary. You're either an adult or old, experienced, or you are unexperienced and you're young. And you're young, you could be a child, you can be a teenager, you could be, I don't know, below 30s, you're all in one group. And then after that, you're an adult, you're experienced, and you're totally separated. So I think we really miss this intergenerational connection and exchange. And I believe we can solve many issues that are related to understanding between different generations by creating scenarios, by creating some actions that we can involve both well, I'm also now saying that as well, like doing the same mistake by involving both generations. What I mean by the old, whoever considers themselves as old adult experience, and whoever considers themselves as young and adult. So I think this issue of identity that is a human-made issue, again, we created this ourselves. I think this has to be fixed by, or has to be a little bit more clear by putting people into action to realize that these are just some virtual borders. They don't really exist. And the same way a 70-year-old farmer can enjoy harvesting and cooking like the products that they have, could be the same feeling and the same joy for a 10-year-old child that wants to do that. But the only way you can feel that is to create a scenario, create something that you can get them engaged together. So many, I mean, there are many activities that are happening around the world in local communities, for instance, let's say like cooking festivals and such kind of things that brings these generations together. But I think this is something that in one of these documents as youth, we need to maybe emphasize, because I think, again, based on what Amira said, we need to take this a little bit at a deeper level and to understand that we need to also, let's say, heal this connection that we have with the past generations. Maybe in many depending on the culture, depending on where we are talking about different realities, there should be a stronger bond between different generations. There shouldn't be a separation. And I think this, on my personal view, this does exist. And this separation is a main cause of, I mean, not main cause, I mean, it's interrelated with the same way that there is a mistrust between different generations, for example. And not having this trust will also not end up to any kind of collaboration, will not end up to any kind of action that we want to do with different generations. So yeah, this is, I think, something that we can focus on either in terms of action or communication. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, I'm sorry, the mic is on. Thank you. I mean, so much. And just wanted to add that the World Food Forum is a chance to break this separation and end it. That's it.
Exactly. And before I hand the floor over to Lawrence, who's raised his hand, let me just jump in quickly on that note, on intergenerational processes. And I think that's very crucial for us to look into, especially because the evidence points a lot to that divide that you were saying. I mean, that, you know, the way we've approached youth in farming, in agriculture, has been very binary. And so I'd love to see you know, how we can break those barriers, and how the World Food Forum can be the advocate to break down those barriers and to create the bridges between these generations, and establish that highway, I would say, highway of knowledge. Yeah. So now I think the next person, I know Lawrence has her hand up. So Lawrence, yeah, you have an intervention. We'd love to hear it. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. It was just to add on what Amin said, and also what Giovanna wrote in the chat, because I found it very interesting. I also totally agree with what Amin said about the fact that we need to reconsider what youth mean, maybe in relation also to other groups, and what are our tasks, and how do we define youth, and how we want to have a relation with other stakeholders, and why do we name ourselves this way. And also I had the impression from yesterday and today, there's like a different set of tasks that the World Food Forum has. For example, support youth groups in their context to act, but also to have a sit at the table and to be able to influence decision making. And this is very much context specific, so it will need to be in a way like the groups, the youth groups can decide, like can ask to the World Food Forum specific things that they need in their context. At the same time, I have the impression we talked a lot about reaching out to other groups and to specific science, for example, behavior science, etc. So maybe there can be a working groups trying to reach out to all relevant stakeholders. They could then be linked to the to youth groups that need some information or that need some evidence-based things to act. And then we talked a lot about also knowledge and how we can create knowledge with the experience of each youth group and how they are acting and how they can best move their own context. And then this would be then what Amin said yesterday, for example, the tasks, the skills mapping of everyone that is part of the World Food Forum that could be very useful in this endeavor. Yeah, this was what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you. I love the points and I love the energy that's brewing up. Jenna, do you have anything to say? Or I know you kind of motioned something, so go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment about this discussion about the intergenerational divide and also about some of maybe on Lawrence's points that you just brought up real quick. And then of course, we will give you the floor, the next person who has raised your hand. But yeah, so yeah, in the governance document, that's a little bit how we had envisioned this open-ended partners working group. So basically anyone who wants to be involved with this group, this is that, yeah, a mechanism for that involvement. Now that said, yeah, definitely it's a little bit of drawing lines. So it's like a attempt to structure things and show that clear way for folks to come in and to make this intergenerational bridge. And that was the hope and the intent through the working group. And I think there's definitely some great work that we can do together then to refine that or scrap it all and form it in a different way, right? This is just a zero draft and it's just to create some type of suggestion, right? So hopefully that can be done together with the governance document. And I will say that this definition of what is youth, that is like the unending challenge, right? Because society loves a age cutoff. And Jim is nodding, he contributed to the HPLE report, and it definitely says there that a conceptual definition of youth is the most productive, right? Which is pretty much, I think, a summary of what we were talking about here is when are you not a young farmer? What do all these things mean, right? And so that's definitely, I think, will be a heated discussion going forward.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we jump into that question, that's going to take a really long discussion of just how to define youth and all that. But going forward, really looking at the structure, how we can move forward with the World Food Forum and the Youth Action Assembly is what we're hoping to, from all these ideas coming up. And I love how everybody's coming in right now. I think everybody's just warming up at the earlier stage of the session, and now it's like a popcorn of ideas coming out. And so next I see Falguni has his hand raised. So Falguni, come in and take the floor. We'd love to hear your intervention.
Pranam, Your Excellency. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor and privilege for me to speak before this august audience. We have a choice. We can continue to grow our food system in a linear, exploitative, and extractive way, or we can move to a system that promotes biodiversity, regeneration, nutrition, food, equity, and healthy people. We believe the decision is clear. We must choose to work the planet, not against it, for the benefit of the may by following these principles. Harness the regenerative power of our earth, build stronger local and circular food systems, give farmers a voice and support their planet positive choice, move from low cost to true cost, foster radical collaboration. As you know, demand for food will continue to increase and will do so in the context of increasing scarcity of natural resources and important changes in structural composition of the demand for food and agriculture products. Climate change and increased competition for natural resources will continue to contribute to natural resources degradation and scarcity with negative impacts on people, livelihood, and food security. Problems of extreme poverty, hunger, food insecurity, and undernourishment will persist, along with increase in overweight, obesity, diet-related chronic diseases, natural disasters are increasing number of instantly, and along with climate change-related extreme weather events are expected to depend the global need for humanitarian assistance and resilience building for farmers and rural households. At the same time, transboundary plant pests and disease and other emerging threats continue to provoke crisis in agriculture and food system and impact productivity and human health. Conflicts are continuing and food insecurity in many parts of the world, which bear economic and social consequences beyond the affected countries. And I suggest everyone we should follow SDG 2.4.1 indicator. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And make sure to sign up on the Google form so we could continue to streamline your ideas, your suggestions into the documents, into the working groups, and how we're going to move forward. Thank you very much for that intervention, Falguni. We totally appreciate it. Now I see Tommaso's hand raised. And so Tommaso, you have an intervention. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, and thank you for being here. I also see that Mr. Ambassador, Mr. Hoogeveen is online, so I'll be very quick, so I can leave the floor for the question and answer session. So, trying to summarize what has been said, and trying also to think in a more practical way. We've understood that we have multiple layers of complexity here, right? So we have the differentiation of the context we are talking about when we think of agri-food systems, but also we have the complexity which is related to the complexity of the agri-food system itself, which is a very complex matter which intertwines with a lot of other aspects. But I think we as youth here, we have an advantage. We can establish a unique language. We can establish a stable mechanism and a stable platform. And another advantage is the fact that our way of thinking is profoundly action-oriented, right? So we have to make sure that we transmit this action-oriented thinking, way of thinking, to the mechanism and the platform that we are trying to establish. And we try to think in a very practical way, because this is an opportunity that we've been given to really, make our voice heard and make our statements here. So we really need to make sure that we do not waste this opportunity, and that we really establish something really effective, and that we can really contribute effectively to the agri-food system transformation. Over to you, Jim.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tommaso, for that intervention, and definitely love to see that all this would really drive towards action on the ground. It's not just going to be something that's something up there, but really looking at how we can build communities with young people to drive action. And I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge His Excellency Ambassador Hans Hoogeveen, who's just come in and joined us. Hello, Ambassador Hans. It's always a pleasure to see you and have you in these conversations. I think we've had a lot of contributions already on the floor, and we're still open to contributions from the floor. You can go to the Google form, make sure to sign up and join that link and be part of the working group, be part of the action on the ground, and help us drive forward. And so with that, I think I would say this is a pause for now on the contributions from the floor. And now we're going to move into a different segment of this session also, which is a conversation with His Excellency and also the FAO independent chair, the independent chair of the FAO Council. If I got that right, Ambassador Hans. So again, go ahead, make sure to sign up on the link. For now, we're going to transition over with Ambassador Hans and Jenna as well in this conversation. So good day, Ambassador Hans. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Jim, and it is, of course, an honor and a pleasure to be with you. And I must say, you have done a fantastic job. Really, I'm impressed what I've seen the last couple of days. I couldn't be at all the sessions, but I'm impressed. It's fantastic. And the World Food Forum is indeed the first, I would say, of its kind global forum for the youth, where young people come together, where young people support, I would say, the transformation to a more sustainable and better food system at all levels, and coming with great innovative ideas. And besides the fact that it is a moment of celebration of all the work being done and the importance of the youth, I think the medium itself was very innovative, because what we have seen is technology competition. We have seen music, festivals, film, culinary arts, supporting videos. It was amazing. And it shows that where sometimes we have quite dull meetings within the UN system, you have spiced up, I would say, our lives and our meetings in the UN system. But moreover, I think what's so important is that there are a few things which in life which can bring people together. And we have seen that food is one of the most powerful issues and themes which can people all over the world bring together to see what we need to be done to make sure that we get to a better life and a better world and a more healthy diet and a more healthy planet. And what you have shown is the power of the youth and the necessity that looking to the future of, I would say, organizations like FAO, but I would say not only the Rome-based agency, but also UN organizations, that we need to involve the youth much more in our processes, listening to their new and innovative ideas and give them a voice also in the formal meetings. And that's what I certainly, as in my new role as independent chair, certainly will do when it comes to council and other meetings. But I will say something more when I listen to your questions.
Thank you, Ambassador Hans, for the support and for the initiative and for the leadership that you're bringing in, especially in championing the youth, the cause of youth for in agriculture and food systems. And I've seen that in the past 3 years that I've known you, and we're very happy to see how we're moving forward together with the different agencies coming together and different stakeholders, really coming from young people at the back seat and now giving them the capacity to really drive the direction of development in the way that they see it. Well, to kick off this conversation with Ambassador Hans, I know that there you have that the leadership and you have the youth in your heart in the policies that you push for. And so in line with that, as the independent chair of the FAO Council, how can we ensure that the World Food Forum Youth Mechanism is recognized and given access to working closely with FAO and even the Rome-based agencies for policies and or projects or anything else for that matter? So, Ambassador Hans, how do we do that?
I think with the World Food Forum, which is not a one-time, I would say, forum, because you're hopefully going to continue for many years, you created a powerful body, an informal, a great international network of the youth. And of course it is new and we have to get adjusted to it. I think what we have to do is now to take the next step. As I said, when I was Perm Rep, I organized that the youth could have a voice in the council. But I think with the World Food Forum, I saw already a draft compendium of your advices. I think it should be taken up. So it's not only the council, I will come to the council, but I will discuss with the chairs of, for example, the POEM Committee, Finance Committee, CCLM, but also other chairs to see how we can make use of already your questions and remarks, to embed it in our thinking, in our work, and also to reply to you, not to say, okay, we have looked through your compendium, there were nice ideas, but also give answers to things which are there. I think that's important, and that gives then also the World Food Forum a position in our governance system. Secondly, what I certainly will do myself is to give you a voice in the council. And perhaps it could be, let's have flexibility in that. It could be one statement, it could be statement when you address a certain issues, but it's important that we give the World Food Forum a voice in the council, that we listen to our youth. And I've heard so many colleagues here in Rome, but also outside of Rome, even in New York. It's so great to listen to the youth. And sometimes you only have to have special, we only hear it in special occasions. I think we have to make every occasion a little bit special so that we listen to you, to your new ideas or your innovations, or even your complaints or cynical remarks, what to do better in every council. But I would say, invite also the chairs of the other committees to do the same, to give you a voice. But it gives also, it's not a formal right. Let's not discuss that because it's not necessary. It's also an obligation for you then to come forward, not only this week, but also on those occasions with an input to the discussions. But I'm very confident that you will do it. And it will be a delight. And let's have that discussion. Let's open up a little bit.
That is very promising, and that's very positive feedback and the way forward. Thank you, Ambassador Hans. Jenna, do you have any questions for Ambassador Hans?
I would love to follow up on your comments there, and really this big invitation and huge olive branch to the young people. And you were saying this is also an obligation to youth to come up, basically how I interpret it, with substantive policy positions for these statements and to talk with the FAO Council. And I was wondering, your perspective, what is one of the biggest added values that youth as a unique and new constituency can bring to the FAO Council and the RBAs?
I think what you've shown this week is already what you can bring in, because what I've seen are new elements, new ideas, which perhaps even I didn't think about. And the most important thing is, when you look to the countries worldwide and the different regions, you see, especially, for example, in Africa, a huge unemployment. And we have to see what can we do more to support those countries in finding youth employment. What we have to do is, how can we scale up good initiatives of the youth? And the problem sometimes when we are sitting here in Rome is that we don't know, I would say, excellent initiatives. I think there the World Food Forum could play a role. I've said it and I will say it also in the council, I think it's important that we not only look to our policy making and our policies, but that we also discuss how it's being implemented to showcase good implementation and where there are stumbling blocks. And in that respect is also, and I think there the World Food Forum, I would say the Youth World Food Forum can play a crucial role, is collecting, I would say, great initiatives which can be scaled up. Because if we know it, I see the UN also as a networking organization. If we know it, we can use our network, and not only with governments, but also with civil society or the private sector to see whether or not we can scale up those good initiatives for the support they need. It's not a promise, but I think knowing is always helping to get further. And that's we have to use our networks. And you have strong networks, we have strong networks. If you combine them, I've seen many initiatives which started small, but using or getting connected with the right people, blew them up and scaled them up. So I think that's what the World Food, the Youth World Food Forum can do, helping those initiatives to be scaled up and to bring the right people there if needed.
Thank you, Ambassador Hans. That's really I love that direction in how we bring that together, working together closely. And I'd like to take this opportunity, because this was a point that was discussed really just a while ago with other fellow young people in this session, about talking about creating that intergenerational bridge, right? With young people working closely with people who have more experience than young people in this space. And to that note, I would like to ask this question of during all of your years within the FAO or the UN system, what has been the most important lesson learned which young people can keep in mind as we progress with the World Food Forum and the Youth Action Assembly?
For me, I would say the most important lesson, and I'm still learning that lesson, by the way, although I'm quite old, is believe in yourself. I think that's the most important lesson I've learned. There are many setbacks in your life, and even working with the UN. I always say, sometimes I'm giving lectures to also classes. I say the UN is always 2 steps forward and 1 step backwards. But I think the strength of the UN is the only forum where, on an equal basis, 1 country, 1 vote, we discuss the most important issues together. And of course, we are not always finding the right solutions, but think about a world without the UN. Then we are lost, because it will be then the survival of the fittest or the richest. We have more conflicts. We don't discuss issues like food security or climate change. And that's the strength of the UN. But at the same time, if you believe in yourself, if you believe in your inspiration, you can inspire others. And sometimes in difficult situations, in negotiations where you think you have achieved, it was in 2007 when we had the UN Forum on Force, where we had an instrument, we were almost there. And then 1 country said, I cannot support it. Then you're devastated. I was devastated because I was chairing that meeting. But I thought, come on, don't show your disappointment, go for it, take that last step, try to inspire that country as well, show that you have support, and always think, and that's the second lesson I always learned, think in solutions instead of problems. What I've learned over the last couple of years with believing in yourself, with inspiration, for every problem, a solution can be found. And sometimes, and certainly with your inspiration and what you have shown the last couple of days, we have to step out of the box, about our out of the box thinking, or perhaps do unusual things. But with creativity, solutions can always be found. I've never found a problem for which we could not find a solution. Perhaps that does not solve the whole problem, but we can make a step forward. I think with that and using your network, think about your network, you have so much power in yourself to be an inspiration for the people around you and get things done.
I love that. Believe in yourself. That's a powerful lesson that I think many of us can take forward and bring in to the work that we're going to be doing together. Jenna, do you have anything on your mind? I see you nodding and all that.
Yeah, I definitely love this statement, think in solutions instead of problems as well, because I think that can really drive action forward. And I would really be curious if you could perhaps describe a moment in your career that still inspires you, which you would like to impart to youth. And maybe it's one of these solutions instead of problems.
Yeah, I mentioned already, but that was an international agreement on sustainable forest management. But one of the things I think, when I think it was 2014, 2015, so many data and information came about food losses. And I was then working in the Netherlands and said, we have to do something about the food losses. So, and I was inspired, we have to bring people together. So I organized together with World Bank and FEO, an international conference, which is always nice, but we said we cannot leave it here. There were many nice things. And then with one other person, we started a group of people around how to tackle food losses globally, but certainly on a national level. And it was it's called now the Champions 12.3, and there are more initiatives now around food losses. But I think doing that and seeing, because it was not, I didn't have it in my mind, all those things, but just starting, being positive, trying to get some people around the idea. And now we are 5-6 years further, and it's one of the priority issues where we're now starting in Nigeria with a pilot. I think that's how it can be done. And that's starting thinking, perhaps sometimes thinking big, but start something and see where it gets. Sometimes you won't get it. 9 of the 10 from the 10, perhaps it won't happen. But at once, where it succeeds, you get things done. And I think that's why that's why I'm always trying to have new initiatives, thinking in solutions, thinking in how can we tackle the problem? And then you can inspire people.
Love it. Start somewhere and see, and sometimes it's 1 out of 10 ideas that will get there, but I think it's the perseverance and the patience in that. And now I want to take a different spin on this, Your Excellency, if you would oblige. This is always the context, us young people asking you the questions. And we want to take a different spin to this, like you said, thinking out of the box. We'll put a different twist to it somehow, where maybe you have some questions for us young people, and we'd love to know what you want to know from us or what you want to posit to us as a question. So Ambassador, please do go ahead.
Yeah, please call me Hans, because with all those ambassadors, excellencies, we create so much distance.
Okay.
And that's not needed, because I think
all right,
the more we just meet each other and see each other as young and older people with a name, brings people much more together. But my question, of course, is you have had an amazing success the last couple of days. What will be your two lessons learned, main lessons learned, and what will be your 2 demands, and not requests, but demands, I would say, to the Council of FEO happening?
Jenna, do you want to take one each of those?
Definitely. I would love to. Thank you for giving me the chance to respond, of course. I think that one of the main lessons learned is that there is, of course, a lot of power with youth, and there's a lot of interest. And so there is the potential for this to move forward, and that this is going to be something that can sustain itself from the energy. And so that couples my lesson learned to a demand, which is something that has been discussed over the past day and a half, is that young people often lack resources. And so this World Food Forum, of course, needs the ongoing, especially financial, intellectual support of the Rome-based agencies.
Great. And I'm gonna come in on that after and then let Hans respond to it. And for me, I think the lesson learned really is that this is basically the past 5 days of the World Food Forum has been just really a tip of the iceberg of what young people can bring into the food systems. And I really hope that that's something that the agencies, the stakeholders, the member states have seen and see the value that young people bring in. The creativity and innovation that young people have is just right there, and it's just waiting to be tapped and discovered and unlocked. And I think that's something that the food systems really need. The demand, I think, on my end would be really to look at how aside from, of course, the budgets that would necessarily enable the sustainability of these kinds of platforms, so that young people can be engaged without having to, there's always this struggle with young people having to have that day job just so that they can get by on a daily basis, as well as doing the advocacy work that they love because they have a passion for food systems and issues around food systems that they feel and they see in their communities. And so the demand really would be more, how do we enable that these structures are cascaded down, and that the Rome-based agencies can create that policy environment that allows member states to provide these spaces for their young people at the country level, and that they are empowered at that level so that they can be heard, and then those voices can be brought to the global level where also most of the policies are created. So it's really on that note. And I see our colleague from India, Falguni, also has an intervention. And Falguni, you have the opportunity to present what you have in your mind and intervention to Hans as well. Go ahead, Falguni.
Thank you, Chair, and namaste. Namaste, Hans. Actually, we have to work like the whole world is one family. We have to work like one family, not like jealousy, not like ego. And we have to work from local level to globalization. We have to focus from local to vocal as a globalization. And as a young, we are the powerhouse of nation. And as you know, Hans and many other director and delegates, they already done. They are our senior. We have to inspire from them, and we have to do something. Actually, as you know, we are in midway of SDG 2030 achievable. We are in 2021. We have 9 years to achieve 2030 agenda. In 2030, if we will not achieve, then it will be a shock for us. Those things our senior and our elder done. If we will not achieve 2030 agenda in 2030, we have to wait 2063. So we have to be work together, and we have to be focused on local level. And another thing, we have to believe in trust deficit and green finance, and we have to be promised that we have to focus our local SDG. If we will easily achieve local SDG, then easily whole world will achieve SDG. And another thing, we have to be cooperate as a friend in need, a friend in need. And another thing, we have to be create development cooperation, bilateral development cooperation, and gender and equality and self-realization and traditional donor. And we have to be a friend in need, a friend in need. Thank you.
Thank you, Falguni. Lots of concepts there that young people want to see working as a family. And again, thank you again, Falguni, for that intervention. Hans, over to you to respond to what we've just said.
Yeah, I think always you'll get the question of funding on the table. Nothing will happen mostly nothing will happen on its own. But I think with what you have done, the fantastic job you have done, an amazing job you have done with the first World Food Forum, I think you have created something which cannot be denied anymore. So you created a position for yourself. But I think that's what you can expect from FO management, but also from me as independent chair, that we bring you to that governing bodies. But also important, I think, when it comes to funding, to come forward with 2 or 3 concrete initiatives which need to be funded at country level, not at global level, because at global level we can think, be creative, but at the end, and I agree what was said by Palgini, at the end of the day, it has to be done at the national or local level. But if you can develop 2 or 3 concrete ideas where you say, okay, this can be done, but we need this kind of funding, and don't come directly with millions. I think with the network we have, also with the World Business Council Sustainable Development, with the NGOs, we should show you that we are listening to you to help you finding the funding for those 2 or 3 proposals. Because I think that's a mechanism which we have to start to working on. That's how I worked in my past, without having much funding, but created with an idea and see if it's a good idea, it will get funding. I'm working now with an amazing young woman about a cookbook with 0 or almost less carbon. It will be launched later this month. Or she started with an idea and now she has funded. She got funding because of the idea. And I think I've worked also with Kiran Sethi from India, from your country. She started at the Riverside School and a movement for young children to show the idea, yes, we can. And 2 years ago, she had a youth summit for children around between 10 and 13 years. 2,500 children from 40 countries were here in Rome, showing their ideas, showing their movement, yes, we can. It started from scratch, see where she got with the funding. I think that's leadership, and it shows where you can get with good ideas. And then, of course, you can rely, and you should rely, and you should question and criticize us if we, on the other side, won't do our job. Because that is what you can ask. And for example, a mechanism, what is being now often done in New York, is that delegations coming to the official bodies, for example, would it be the General Assembly or May meeting, will have a youth representative in their delegation. It's an easy thing, but if we start now doing that, you have every time the possibility to increase your network and get also within the delegations the voice of the youth when it comes to presenting positions of government. So I think that are mechanisms which we have to work on. But you have to, I say, count on us. We count on you because you have to deliver as well. And I think that's important. Come with those ideas and you will get that positive spiral to hopefully much more success in the future.
Thank you. And I think that's a low-hanging fruit for the World Food Forum and the Youth Action Assembly. Coming up with 2 or 3 ideas, we've already mapped out a youth action compendium. We've already mapped out a roadmap for a youth action plan. And I think definitely there will be 2 or 3 ideas from there that we can definitely develop and evolve and bring forward to you and also the rest of the agencies who'd be willing to help us out. And to close with this, sorry, I always get used to the ambassador part. Hans, this is just with the SDGs right there. It's already around the corner, really, to say that the SDGs are there already. The question now for us young people is, of course, one is, how do we explicitly become part of that agenda? And the second one is to what at least can you impart to young people that inspired you through all these years, that young people can bring with them to stay inspired in the cause for the Sustainable Development Goals?
Yeah, I think I already said it. I think if you believe in yourself, and you're believing in yourself, otherwise you wouldn't have created this World Food Forum. So now take the next step. This is an amazing and great success. So we take the next step. If you have a success story, to take the next step and make it concrete. Not only to have a voice here in Rome, but make sure that you can support younger people at country level to find support at the country level. And I know Maximo did a great job within FEO by supporting you, and he broke down silos within the organization to make this happen. But Maximo knows, and perhaps Jin also know, the great and positive thing of the outcome of the World Food System Summit is that for the first time, I think for decades, we have this food systems at the highest political level within the UN, with the heads of states. We have to maintain it. For the first time, we have a lot of energy with many stakeholders around how to transform our food systems, not only here in Rome, but worldwide. We have to maintain it and grab that energy. And my dream was for this first World Food Forum to have a march of the youth worldwide for food security, because we had the march for climate change. But no, and I've been also in refugee camps, and you see the terrible things happening every year, every day we are confronted with it. But if the youth can show, I was hoping for a marathon in all the cities worldwide for food security, shown by the youth, empowered by the youth. And I was hoping for a huge concert here at Circus Maximus here at FVO. But hopefully one time, when we have hopefully solved the COVID crisis, we can have that, certainly that concert for food security. And why it's so important? Because with food and music, you will change people inside. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's what we could say a concerted effort for a concert. Just a pun right there to break the silence as well. And thank you very much, Hans, for those inputs. I'm going to give a very quick opportunity to I think to Amira to just give that quick question you have. I really hope you could make it quick in 30 seconds. We're going beyond time. Please make sure to keep within time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jem. Hans, first I want to thank you for inspiring us today. And I just have a little demand to keep doing what we are doing in supporting us and accepting our mistakes and the times that we need to learn and keeping our path that's make us feel secure and keep inspiring us to find our right path. That's we need so much from you to do for us. And thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amira. But let's turn it around. You know, you have the biggest fan and supporter for what you are doing. But it's also, we need you. We need you to find better solutions than what we have done. I still believe we are on the right track, but we have not done enough. We have to do more. And for that, we absolutely need you. We cannot do without you anymore. And that's also a strong request to all those who are listening in. It has to be a joint effort, but at the end of the day, it's the youth who or which has the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I promise you we will be there. Thank you.
A round of applause for Hans, who has been a champion for youth for the longest time that I can remember. Again, thank you very much for gracing us and also entertaining us and also being very game with flipping the positions of you asking us the questions. Thank you very much. And we look forward to working closely with you in the FAO Council and as well as in the work ahead. Again, thank you very much for being with us.
You can count on me.
Yes, love that. Thank you, Hans. Okay, that brings this session to a close. That was a good way to close, Jenna.
Definitely,
And
I agree.
yeah,
Thank you
yeah,
so much.
that was lovely. And so I think with that, we're going to be we're going to actually go into a very we're going to have a, how do you call this, the food priorities, just so that before we close this session, there was a part on food priorities, and let me just bring that up quickly.
And I see also we have a hand raised from Tommaso. So
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
perhaps
go
we
ahead,
can let
Tommaso.
Tommaso make an intervention.
I'll leave the floor to Matteo this time.
Oh, Mateo, go ahead.
Hey, so amazing session. Thank you, Hans. It's great to hear that we have the back, or that the young people have your back. And also, I am very sure that some of the elements that you mentioned and some of the concrete action will certainly come out of these 2 days of assembly. So just stay tuned. I am sure that in the closing outcomes of this assembly, we will be able to produce some of inspiring and forward-looking actions and concrete suggestions, as you mentioned. I just have two suggestions. First of all, I'm afraid that the volunteer wall has not yet been finalized. We're still waiting for some video and some editing, so we can reduce that section, but we will certainly show it during the closing ceremony. And then maybe we can use the remaining part of this, besides what Jim was trying to bring forward, also to maybe follow up very much on what Hans was saying. Maybe let's at the end of this session really bring it up to some 2-3 concrete ideas that we can bring forward, right? I think that we have a lot of elements that we have captured during the past days. We have also the opportunity to report it during the outcome and during the closing ceremony. So maybe we can use the time that we have saved, not having the photo wall, maybe to discuss these 2-3 concrete action that we can bring forward. Back to you, Jim.
Thanks, Mateo. Before we jump into that, and this is basically what I was talking about, and so that we continue engagement also, and of course this will go into also the kind of work that we have prepared for, the working groups and the action compendium. And it's really about, we want to know what you think are your food priorities, what you think should be prioritized. It could be challenges, it could be solutions, it could be issues, anything around foods that you think should be prioritized. So we encourage you to go take a picture or use a picture that you visualizes that, post it on social media, and use the hashtag food priority and hashtag food for future. So go ahead and do that as well, and just show us and tell us also what you think should be prioritized around food. All right, with that, I think we can go. Oh, we've done that. And Mateo, how do you propose, Jenna? Do you want to jump into that?
Definitely. I mean, I would like to just read a quick list of thank yous for the youth volunteers. I know our photo wall will be at the closing ceremony now. And I just wanted to acknowledge all of the hard work that went into the preparation of this World Food Forum here, especially at the Youth Action Assembly, because we have a lot of dedicated participants here who have tuned in over many hours. For a lot of folks, it's been at bizarre times of the day that we don't normally sit in front of the computer just to make this virtual event and gathering happen, right? And so that's like a huge sacrifice that everyone has put forward from their personal time. The majority of this, or a lot of this, has been volunteer hours that have gone into this. And so it's a huge thank you. And it's a huge thank you to those volunteers, to the participants, to the FAO staff who has been working tirelessly, staying up late, waking up very early. I know it's a huge thank you. I see Kazuki just posted in the chat. Thank you all. Kazuki has been working tirelessly, and also with your FAO teammates, right? So Matteo, Maria Teresa, Tommaso, Thomas, Emma, Giovanna, And also Maximo Torrero, thank you so much for the support that we've gotten through the World Food Forum. We've also had great volunteers here. So you see Jim, he's been dedicated, tuning in all the time. We've been having Friday meetings to help prepare this. Ugratna, you saw yesterday, has done a lot of the brain work behind this governance document. We also had Lisane, she has been so dedicated, really being a leader in this group, just out of her own goodwill and her dedication to this. Lana, she helped co-lead the action track document. We also had Pramisha, who you saw yesterday, co-moderating a session. She's also been fantastic from a major group of children and youth. And then I hope I'm not forgetting anyone on my list here. We've also had Lawrence, who was co-moderating a session, and we've also had fantastic presentations, for example, from Amin, who was also participating dedicatedly. And thank you to the participants, right? So Amira, Panguli, Amin, and also our lovely interpreters. Thank you so, so much. And that's all for my thank you list. I know that I definitely forgot someone, and it's not because I don't value your contributions. It's because I quickly put together this list because the photo wall is moved to the evening session.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for going through that list, Jenna. And I really appreciate you as well. Thank you very much, Jenna, also for the time that you've put in along with everybody else. This has been something that we've done in the past 2 months, and it's just like meetings after meetings, and sometimes it's been, you know, at very times of the day that you don't normally have a meeting. But yeah, it's just really to see this go through and pull through, and we're really happy to see it come to fruition, and we're hoping to see, and we're very excited to see how it's going to move forward. And with that, I see Amin has his hand up. Quick shout out there or an intervention. Go ahead.
Sorry, Jim. I thought that I could maybe, because I just saw Mateo's intervention that was asking that we can fill the time or like talk. So I just was thinking like, is it a short time that we have or no? Because I just wanted to comment on what some of the things that Hans mentioned. So do we have time for that or no?
I would say we have about like up to 1/2 past. So there's probably like 17 minutes, I think, just for the very reason that I'm going to be moderating another session right after this. So I need a quick break between these two.
Sure.
So go ahead.
No, no,
and I think
I just want to say something very short. Yeah. Thank you. And first of all, I think it's very important that we had this appreciation of all of us to once again, I mean, to have this feeling of togetherness and thanking, which maybe does not exist in many other environments, and always to have this vibe with us. This is a true youth action that we're actually doing now, to appreciating each other and recognizing what we're doing and being grateful for where we are. And relevant to that, about what Hans was, let's say, about the comments about Hans and what he was saying about the youth, I think when we give, let's say, some inspirational talks to the youth that, come on, go, believe in yourself, this would be maybe for a bunch of youth that the majority of them are not confident enough in what they're doing. But I think us as the team that we are working here now in the World Food Forum or participating, we are confident enough. We know we're doing an awesome job. And I think this is a kind of a reminder for, let's say, older age-wise generation that the reason that we are having an event that is called the World Food Forum and it's being presented or powered by the global youth is that because this youth is out of the scene in high levels and has been not there. So we are really looking forward to a future that we will be recognized, and this will be included in all of the scenes, that we don't need to bring the youth like very bold out there. So we are already working in the process. And yeah, this was basically one thing that I wanted to say. And yeah, there was another thing that just came to mind, but I think I'll leave that for later. And yeah, I'll just leave the floor. I think Tommaso is also raising his hand to another intervention.
Well, thank you, and definitely, yeah. I think we certainly agree on that same note that young people are here. We've already presented ourselves. We've done the work, and we just need that push, and we have got that commitment from them that they have our backs, and we're just going. I'm really looking forward how we can bring that forward from this day, and see and bring that to fruition together with everybody else here involved. And so for now, let me hand it over to Mateo, who's raised his hand. Go ahead, Mateo.
What an amazing 2 days this has been. So guys, the month and the sleepless night was, up to me, really, really worth it. You really did an incredible job, and you did it. Of course, we support it. Of course, we're here for you, but you guys did it. I listened very carefully for the past 2 days. I also listened very carefully to what Anne says, and I think there's three things that you guys have achieved. You work on a framework. You have presented a framework. It seemed to me that the framework was very well received, and this posed the base for something very solid to be expanded on, right? We always say this is just the beginning of a long journey, but you demonstrated that this beginning is a good beginning. I think the second element that I heard over and over again is that we love to do this, we love to dedicate our time, we love to volunteer our time, but this has to be supported in a more systematic way. And I mean that for all the volunteers' time that you guys have put, the sleepless night beside your work, I think that has to be recognized, but it has to be supported in a more structured and possibly long-lasting way. If the World Food Forum is there to stay, it's there to stay because you are not just volunteering all your free time, because I think that you deserve also some good quality time beside the World Food Forum, but you dedicate and you are recognized for the dedication that you put in a number of different ways. And I think the last point that I wanted to make, or the last 2 points, is that, and I use Hans as a reference point, I think that we need to call for a very specific set of requests if we want this to be a permanent, recognized, and one day institutional platform. If we don't make those requests at the end of the World Food Forum, I guess that we lose an important momentum. And Hans was very, very clear. It's like, make those requests because I am ready to support you. And Maximo is saying, make those requests because we have given the platform to you, but we need to listen to you of what these requests are all about. So I took the opportunity to reflect on when Hans was talking, and he said, you build a momentum, an incredible momentum, a global momentum, but now we have to keep it. And to keep it, you need a structure, you need support, and you need also recognition. So I think that is one of the elements that I would like you to reflect on. The second element, and Hans is very right, we love the global, but let's bring it local, and then we bring it back to global. And I think that now we started global, let's bring it down to the local, and in the building of the next World Food Forum, it has to go local, and then bring it back global. And the third and last element, and I think we have discussed that in a number of meetings in the making of the World Food Forum, and Maximus, I think, always repeat it, and he's right. We need fact-based, we need evidence, we need some scientific group, or maybe scientific youth group that support the work of the Assembly. Because we understand the action, we understand what needs to be done, but we need also some substantive and evidence and scientific approach to what we do. So if we could have, and I think, Jenna, you guys work a lot on that, you understand the importance of science and scientific proof. So let's make sure that these young scientists, the World Food Forum scientist group work alongside with the Assembly to really substantiate what the Assembly is producing. So these are the three elements that I want you to reflect on, because I listen, And then I think these are the three main areas that we could reflect on for the next 10 minutes.
Absolutely. Love that. I think those are very substantial elements that we need to look into and how we can flesh that out and materialize. Jenna, I know you have a couple of things you want to say also. Go ahead.
I love what you just intervened, Matteo, because I had also made a list here for me in my little notebook here of outcomes, of 3 outcomes. And I almost wrote down the 3 same things as you mentioned here, this presentation of a framework for the World Food Forum, the request to institutionalize, this request to go local and then bring it back up to the global level. And then, of course, I think this was a thread throughout your intervention as well, but we've also, through the World Food Forum, a huge outcome, I think, is this connection between youth groups that weren't previously working together before, or between young individuals that weren't previously working together before, just simply of the fact that we didn't have the chance to come in contact with each other. And I think that's one of the big values that can't be understated from the World Food Forum, is this platform for collective action. Because, for example, we see several people here who are tuned in from India who may be interested in working together, several folks from Egypt. I found out that Amin actually lives in Berlin. I also live in Berlin. So some of these funny coincidences wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the World Food Forum. So I love the networking aspect as well.
Perfect. And I think those are things for us to look into, and going back to what Hans was asking for from us, is really how do we bring now all these these lessons, these elements that we've seen, these that we've observed, and how do we bring them together to a proposal that could actually be brought onto a table for funding? Because, you know, we've always been talking about, you know, the budget to support young people and the time that they put into it. And of course, the way that the development approaches work is really to like put the resources into something that brings action on the ground to life. And I think that's where the World Food Forum comes in. And I think that's very crucial, that of course we need to prioritize what is the governance structure. That's where the governance document comes in. And this is to remind also and segue to tell our participants here, go into the documents, go into the Google Forms, sign up, and then be part of the process that we're looking forward to working closely with you. So that's the governance document. And the second one is to, I think, the actions. I think the actions on the ground, like what Falguni, what Amira, what Amin have been bringing into the table, and other young people here like Lawrence and everybody else, is those can be distilled into the youth action compendium and the youth action plans. And then those can be developed into the proposals that Hans was referring to, that we could bring together and develop for funding. And I think those are the low-hanging fruits that we could definitely go for. Jenna, anything else you want to add to that?
No, thank you so much. I think that's an amazing wrap up that you just gave here of the outcomes between you, Tommaso, excuse me. That's an amazing wrap up of what we've been able to accomplish together in the World Food Forum. And I see Maria just wrote in the chat, the true mission of World Food Forum has come true. We must now ensure to carry it on. It feels like today is the end, but the work quite literally starts tomorrow. And so with that, I see Kazuki raised his hand.
Yeah.
I think it's very appropriate that he takes a last word here and shares his thoughts.
Oh, thanks so much.
Go ahead, Kazuki. And we'd love to see your beautiful smile and passionate expression, if you could, while you speak.
I would love to do that. I'm in the middle of production here, so I'm on my phone. So please allow me to just briefly talk and congratulate you here for this wonderful work that you have been doing in this Youth Action Assembly. And you will see my smile later in the closing ceremony, because we will be all on stage, and there I will be not on a phone. But but I just would like to say one thing on the very last point, Jim, you were raising, and I think that is a really important one, and that was coming up over and over in the different discussions, is on budget and on funding and the possibilities of doing resource mobilization. And I think this platform that we have been putting together here, this network, and Jenna, you're saying networking amongst all of the different youth groups is so powerful. It's so empowering. This network and this platform has also much more of an opportunity for getting funding because we are together, because we are combining our ideas, because we are combining our powers from all around the world, but also at the local level in the next step. So I believe there is a lot that we have to bring to this closing ceremony. At the closing ceremony, the full-fledged senior management of the Rome-based, of FAO at least, is going to be there. And I hope that the other Rome-based agencies will be all watching as well. And so you have here now a unique opportunity to bring your actions, your ideas, very concrete institutionalization of this place, make the network real, and then ask, of course, also for the money that is necessary for it. To the table today at 5 o'clock. So I'm really looking forward to that. Be concrete, be bold. I think nobody here is holding back, and this is really where the boldness needs to come in place. Sometimes you ask 150% and then you get 120. But if you only ask for 80%, you will probably only get 50. So ask for what your dream is. Ask for what the long-term vision is all about here. And I think that is really important. And my feeling from what came out of this assembly is that is where we are, and that is where the next steps are going. But again, from my side, thanks to the incredible volunteering that went into this assembly. And Jim, you will see my face later and I will smile, I promise. Back to you.
Thank you. And that's a wrap. Absolutely lovely way to end it and cap it off from the World Food Forum coordinator. Again, a round of applause to everybody whose work, from the FAO team, from the volunteers, from the people leading and people working behind the scenes. An amazing thank you also to our interpreters who, through the technical issues a while ago, we've gone through that and we've achieved this, and we've reached this point. So to close, this is not the ending. This is just the beginning. And we do have a closing ceremony. We also have the launch of the food icons coming up at 1300 Central European time. That's also an amazing initiative. And so again, go and attend the closing ceremony also. And that's where we're going to do a lot of our, put at least our calls, our demands, and also share that that passion with everybody else. So with that, is there something that you wanted to say, Mateo?
Yeah, I would like everyone, all the members, let's bring everybody up, put your camera on, let's make a beautiful and smiley picture. We will take off the mask for a couple of seconds just for the picture. No, the Roman police say no. But let's bring everybody up. Everybody put on their camera, and let's make a proper World Food Forum smile for this beautiful, beautiful end of the morning. And please, while we're doing that, yes, let me join Jim by calling all of you to attend the Food Icons meeting. This is where we're going to discuss icons that are related to the food system. They're going to help us better communicating across cultural languages and geographies. But also do join us for the closing ceremony at 5 p.m. where our young leaders are going to make some proper requests to all the FAO management and to all the people that are listening to the World Food Forum. So bring your camera up.
So you take the picture.
Who does it? Matteo?
Somebody taking the picture already?
I see some people are still coming on, so maybe let's.
Okay, we'll wait a few more minutes.
Yeah, I'm still trying to promote everybody to panelists, participants. If you see and you want to turn on your camera, just accept the invite to be promoted to panelist. And if not, it's okay. It's totally fine and we understand. We're just happy that you've been here and that you've participated.
Exactly. Just try to put your camera on so we see some beautiful smiling faces. And we can make the last World Food Forum Youth Assembly picture for today.
Okay, more people coming in. All right.
If you want to be in the picture, please turn on your camera. That's the only request.
Yeah. Put your camera on. Yes, exactly. That's lovely.
Okay, nice. It's nice to see people with their beautiful faces and smiles.
I've sent an invitation for everyone to be a panelist, so I think those who would like to join are here.
Okay. We have more coming in. Please turn on your cameras so that we can include you in the picture.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Smile. Fantastic.
Gorgeous. See you all at 5, people. Thank you so much. It's a wrap for the Youth Action Assembly. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jenna. Thank you, every single person in this room. Tune in at 5.
Pleasure. See you
Thank
all.
you so much. Ciao.
Bye. Ciao.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.